Guys, just a couple of weeks back, I found someone on Instagram who played a huge role in shaping my personality after 22 years. I'll talk about him in today's video, but before that, I'm going to share one of the deepest spiritual beliefs I live by. It's something that has become an integral part of my life, my coaching program, my parenting journey, the relationships I nourish, and the way I navigate any difficult situations or seasons that I come across. It's also one of the biggest reasons why I'm able to stay grounded even when life doesn't make sense. So today is Wednesday, and this is Wednesday Wisdom. I'm also going to share one of my school experiences when I was 16. Basically, some stories are so unbelievable that if it was written into a movie, we'll actually call them unrealistic. Football season just got over, and we all were surprised, shocked, and freaked out to hear that Messi was part of a UNICEF campaign years back where he was photographed bathing a 6-month-old baby. And nearly 2 decades later, that baby, Yamal, would grow up into one of the world's most promising football stars and eventually share stage with Messi himself in the finals. Who would have thought, right? Because imagine how many things should have gone in a certain way, how many things should have aligned in a certain manner at a certain time for this football final to have happened like this with these two people in it, right? And if someone had written this as a movie, I'm sure we would have said, that's too cheesy. Life doesn't work like that. Too cringe. As if. And yet, fact is often stranger than fiction. I think life is full of moments like these, right? We just don't recognize them while we are living that moment. Because have you noticed how so many of our favorite movies are written? Something random or even unfortunate happens to the protagonist in the beginning. At that moment, it feels unnecessary. Sometimes it's so frustrating to watch because you don't understand why the story is taking that turn. But as the movie unfolds, you realize that that very incident you questioned became the reason they met the right person, developed an important skill, found the courage they needed, or survived the biggest challenge of their life. If that scene had never happened, the ending would have been completely different. Any movie that suddenly came into your mind? Let me know in the comments, okay? Yeah, so maybe that's why I find real life so fascinating. We don't get to watch our lives with the screenplay in our hands. We are living one scene at a time, guys, without knowing how the story ends. And perhaps that's why it's so difficult to trust the chapter that we are currently in. So that brings us to my childhood story. So I studied in a boarding school, and it was 11th standard summer holidays. Everyone, especially the principal, knew I was the civil service aspirant. During the summer holidays, our parents come to pick us up, right? So we were instructed to meet the principal with the parent because we are 11th standard students going to 12th. So apparently, principal had plans for each child he wanted to convey to the parents. So I took my mom and we went and met the principal. And my mother was like, okay, maybe principal will ask me to put you in maths tuitions because I struggled a bit with maths. So I was just expecting that, and we went and met him. And he all of a sudden said, put her in personality development classes. None of us have heard of personality development during that time. Okay, we are talking about 2004, 2003, 2004. So at that time, especially because I studied in a rural area, so we hadn't really heard of personality development and all. My mother was confused. Anyway, what happened during the summer holidays, we had a wedding to attend in Mumbai, and we all went, and my mother just casually mentioned this to one of my uncles, and he was going through some Mumbai Mirror or some newspaper, and he found this program, a 15-day program, an acting theatre sort of workshop. Okay. And then he said this might suit her. And I didn't understand what it was. My mother didn't understand what it was. She was like, this looks like something different. And my uncle said, no, this would be apt. Anyway, what happened was we went and met the founder of that organization, and he asked me to stay back in Mumbai for the next 15 days to do the course. And so, yeah, long story, so many things happened, but it was my first time in a new city, and I had to navigate Mumbai locals. And as a 15, 16-year-old, it was so new. And of course, I made a lot of mistakes, a lot of uncomfortable stuff happened. That's for another day. Long story short, I struggled to navigate this huge city before smartphones and Google Maps and all existed, okay? Anyway, that being said, at that time I didn't realize I was learning improvisation, storytelling, stage presence, how to truly connect with an audience. I didn't know where these things would help me in future, okay? But today, when people ask me how I'm able to hold space for hundreds of people in my workshops or make complex ideas feel simple, I often think back to that 16-year-old who had no idea what those 15 days were preparing her for. Seriously. So that's whom I found on Instagram a couple of weeks back, guys. Kishore, founder of Theatrix Mumbai, who had this wonderful program that actually, in hindsight, helped me blossom a lot. I also discovered that Kishore sir is a national award winner for this short film called Laddu. Kishore sir, if you're watching this, I'm so grateful. Thank you for that experience. There's another incident that comes to mind. During college, I completed a 1 year diploma in yoga. Okay, my college mates who did the program with me are all currently following. So, report in the comments if you guys watch this video. But strangely, I never went back to collect that certificate. And for years, that stayed at the back of my mind as something incomplete, almost like a loose end I should have tied up. After returning to yoga many years later, I realized something very beautiful. The real gift of that year was never that certificate. It was that seed that had been planted within me. Even though I moved away from yoga for a long time, it quietly remained a part of who I was. And when life brought me back to it, it felt less like learning something new and more like coming back home. And today, I don't feel the need to prove to anyone that I studied yoga. The certificate would only validate that I completed a course. My practice is what validates that it became part of my life. Because sometimes we think the purpose of an experience is what it gives us immediately, right? A degree, a certificate, a job, a relationship. But years later, we realize its true purpose was something much deeper. It would have been quietly shaping the person that we are becoming. So, what is the Wednesday wisdom? I have realized that we are very quick to judge chapters before we have finished reading the book. We label experiences as mistakes, failures, waste of time, when in reality they may be simply a preparation for a future we cannot see at this moment. This is also one of the biggest reasons I believe in seeking guidance and mentorship. Not because someone else can predict your future, but because they can help you zoom out. Because when we are in the middle of pain, confusion, or uncertainty, we are looking at life through a microscope. Personally, for me, good mentors have helped me step back and see the bird's eye view, to notice patterns, recognize what life may be teaching me, and make decisions with greater clarity instead of fear. It's so interesting when we focus on the larger picture than that individual incident. And this is something that I enjoy mentoring people on too. Because sometimes all we need is someone to help us see the picture that we are too close to recognize ourselves. Whether you call it God, universe, destiny, karma, or simply life unfolding, there is something deeply humbling about accepting that we don't always have the full picture. We experience life from the ground level, guys. Wisdom comes only when we step back and look at things from a bird's eye view. So, അതാകപ്പെട്ടത് എന്നുവെന്റാൽ എന്താ പറഞ്ഞു വരുന്നതെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ if you are in a season that feels confusing, frustrating, or like it makes no sense, maybe your only job right now is to keep walking. ஒரு நாள் இல்ல ஒரு நாள், one day you may look back and realize that the very thing you wanted to avoid became the reason you're exactly where you needed to be. Because I'm 39, and the older I get, the more I realize that whenever I'm going through something difficult, I consciously try to zoom out and ask myself, what if this chapter makes sense only years from now? Some days I can do that on my own, but many times I can't. That's when I lean on people who have walked further than I have. People I consider wiser, more experienced, more emotionally regulated. They don't tell me exactly what the future holds. They simply help me see beyond what my fear can see today. That gentle nudge, that wider perspective, that has helped me through some of my hardest seasons in my life. And when many of you ask me how have you stayed positive after 12 years on social media despite criticism, trolling, bullying, and public shaming, this is a big part of my answer. See, that doesn't mean I believe every painful experience happens for a reason in a simplistic sense, but I do believe that with time, reflection, and the right guidance, many experiences can gain meaning. Because looking back, I've always found that the chapters I resisted the most ended up shaping me in ways I never could have planned myself. Again, if you are in that kind of a situation and you're not able to see the bigger picture and want my help in doing that, just fill the Google form in bio and schedule a discovery call with my teammates, get into my community, and we can work it out. And before I end today's Wednesday Wisdom, I want to ask you something. What's that one event in your life that made no sense when you were living through it, but years later you realized it had quietly changed the direction of your life? Share in the comments. I'd love to read your stories.